Dag, ben ik met Deon en René. En abonneer en like ook even. En hallo Deon en hallo René.
Goedendag! Ik zet hem onder, dat doe ik altijd. Ook die ik ben.
Bonjour en...
Goedendag, bonjour, good morning. Vandaag is het al avond. Ja, dat is fijn.
Zo.
Als iemand 6 damage doet tegen iemand die blijft, dan vraag ik me af of dat mogelijk is.
Dat is zeker mogelijk.
Maar waarom doet deze game niet? Ga in. Ben je ready? Ja. Hopelijk doet hij het. Hoe oud zijn jullie?
Ja, echt, we zijn live, jongen. Hij heeft gevraagd hoe oud zijn jullie?
Oh, je gaat ook niet vragen, wat is je lievelingskleur, Kevin? Kevin, wat is je lievelingskleur?
Roze.
Wat is je lievelingsdier? Oh ja, ik ben er. Wat
Ja,
is je
oma.
lievelingsdier?
Ik kan geen ready doen, zo weet ik veel wat er is.
Dat doe niet zo.
Wat is je hobby?
Wat heb ik? Ik ben vandaag...
Mijn hobby is fietsen likken.
Nee. Nee, dat is een raar hobby, nee. Ben ik weer.
Komt ja hoor, nee, dat is een raar hobby.
Ja, domme.
Ik ga altijd naar de stad en dan ga ik lekker fietsen likken.
Lekker Amsterdam, altijd gaan mogen fietsen, hè?
Ja, daarom.
Dat is echt niet normaal van fietsen.
Ja, daarom.
Als je fietsen denken, oh, weet je wat, we fietsen spullen opbouwen. Nee, dan allemaal parkeren, bekeerd door iemand op niks wat op is gebeurd.
Misschien ligt er wel schroenten.
Ja, en heel lang was dat deel voor fiets ligt, hè?
Ja. Hey, ik weet niet welk deel het meisje zou likken van de fiets. Een stuk van het zadel.
Ja, maar zeg maar, al banden, ja, dat moet je niet doen, dat is echt super stuur is ook echt wat super fiets, want het is echt tegen aan met de chipvingers.
Chipvingers.
Met de vingers gewoon lekker, lekker plakje geven aan het donder. Al niet bij mijn stoel, nee, het stuur is meer gaaf, moet niet. Je gaat toch niet aan het stuur liggen waarschijnlijk.
Jawel, ze gaan het even lekker aflikken.
Oh, dus, ja, extra saus voor degene met fiets ligt.
What the fuck? Waar hebben wij het eigenlijk over?
Over jouw hobby. Nee, Deon, ik hoor de stream open hebben, doe ook het misgeluid uit. Anders heb je zo'n eindige loop, hè, dan hoor je het alleen maar.
Goed zo. Waar gaan we eigenlijk heen?
Ja, naar dit sappige bergje waar je echt uit het achterland.
Ik krijg reacties van de sappige newbie. Die ga ik zo meteen even kijken. Waarschijnlijk is het gewoon Deon, maar... Deon, heb jij wat gestuurd in de chat?
Ja.
Hoezo?
Hallo.
Wat heb je gestuurd dan? Fietsen likken?
Wat je favoriete smaakfiets. Nou, wat is je favoriete smaak, Kevin?
Nou, het zout vind ik lekker de kont te fietsen, maar dat is mijn mening.
Ik vind zelf de damesfietsen. Je hebt daar maar heel fietsen met stand.
Ja, precies, die damesfietsen die vind ik ook, ja, nee, dat zou ik helemaal mee.
Dan doe ik wel even een mannelijke fiets. Maar ik ga niet praten op de chat. Ik ga er niet meer over praten.
Nee, ik ook niet.
Oh ja, even voordat je het weet, dit is live.
Ja, precies, die, ik kan niks knippen. Oh, die wil ik wel.
Ik zeg maar lekker niks meer, want ik word niet... Ja, dat kan in principe gebeuren. Tot iemand van school is vet en je voor eeuwig wordt gepest. Alleen ik weet nog wat jij wordt gepest, want ik niet vol.
En dat vertel je even zomaar bij je live. Oké.
Ja, doe maar fijn.
Oké.
Trouwens, kinderen, ga wel naar school.
Oké, kijkers.
Oké.
Oké, kijkers. Jullie moeten... boeit René toch niks? Dus word niet zoals René. En ga niet spijbelen en bla bla bla, want dat is niet goed voor je toekomst.
Anders eigenlijk zoals mij. Praat over fietsen. Over fietsen. Nou, word je echt zoals ons? Nou, je wilt het doen.
Nee, maar ik spijbel niet. Ik heb gewoon een goede schoolcarrière. Ik heb gewoon koude gymnasium. Ik hou het laagste vak wat er is of zo, nee. Nee, dat niet, maar...
Gymnasium ook niet het laagste wat het is, maar... Ja, maar...
Nee, gymnasium niet, nee.
Maar ik weet niet of je ook zo'n goede schoolcarrière hebt.
Nou, op zich.
Kijk op welke school je zit.
Ja, oké, maar... Dat moet je het verder niet. Ik bedoel, ik heb wel gewoon... ik kan later wel gewoon een aardig goede baan krijgen, hoor. Ik kan later wel gewoon ik ga niet zoals jou waarschijnlijk onder de brug wonen of zo.
Nee, ik ga niet onder de brug wonen.
Nou, als je zo doorgaat.
Ik ga gewoon weg bij McDonald's.
Bij McDonald's.
Ik ga hier wel een stuk, jongen.
En dan ben ik bij McDonald's werken.
Bij de action. Ja, wat is...
Maar je kan nu niet vechten, jongen. Ik ga helemaal stuk. Kut zo, we gaan dansen eruit. Zo, ik ben er gewoon uitgegaan hoor, fuck die shit. Ik lik nog liever een face.
Shoot roken.
Ik wil even aanvallen.
White hit. Oké, lekker.
Waarom shoot het bij mij?
Ja, ik had hem maar white hit, maar ja.
Waarom shoot het bij mij?
Wat die noob is.
Oh, ik
Ja, maar ik had dus iemand die op het shotten met al die wapens. Zij heeft
Sprachwissel. Sprachwissel, voor mij.
Oh nee, die gaat hier. Oké, die gaat hier killen. Jongens hebben gewonnen, jippie. Zet mijn titel.
Jippie, jee. En als je het niet weet, kijk maar de vorige livestream van 5 minuten of zo terug.
Nee, als ik sprachwissel vind, dan hebben we gewonnen.
Oké, ons hoort nog zitten nog in de game.
Ja joh,
ja.
Kut voor je, wegwezen.
Ja, nog niet gevallen. Maar dat doen we samenwerken met Nerfs. Dan mochten de tech, de RPG en de sprachwissel nooit gevallen worden of zo. Wat ik heb gehoord.
Nee, dat mag ook nooit gevallen. Sprachwissel is super fijn. Iedereen zegt dat hij poep is.
Ja, maar dat doe je niet. Ja, nee, maar dat is hij gewoon niet. Hij is niet
En dan was de tech ook al geval, denk ik hoor. Dan was hij gelijk geval met zijn 9, dat dan in plaats van de tech de pump wegging. En anders was de RPG, nou RPG wordt toch sowieso een geval, maar ik denk dat het sprachwissel anders al was gevallen ondertussen hoor.
Ja, denk ik ook wel.
Sprachwissel, kom
Ik ga niet meer praten over fietsen, by the way. Al wil je dat horen, moet je ergens anders heen gaan.
Ja, maar mensen, jullie moeten niet zoals René gaan spijbelen, want je hebt totaal geen goede schoolcarrière en nu loopt hij te praten dat hij niet gaat praten over fietsen. Nou, je gaat zo meteen naar dezelfde soort school waar ik nu op zit, maar dan als basis. En ik ga waarschijnlijk naar gewoon een middelbare, dus.
Ja, maar je phone is gewoon nog steeds prima hoor. Niet meer. Maar ik heb het gewoon nodig. Ik kan het over vloeidag voor.
Jongen, je zat nog niet eens op gymnasium. Met je te hoog IQ. Ja, maar hoezo heb je dat niet gedaan dan?
Dat is helemaal aan. Nee! Jongen, waar sta jij dat op, jongen? Ik wil die bolt hebben en dan ga je daarop slaan. Ja, dat is jouw schuld.
Ja, man. Jij sloeg er toch ook de hele tijd op, of niet?
Ja,
bij me dat zag ik.
Fuck, ik was al 3 seconden of nee, ik was niet 3 seconden, van 10 seconden bij de standing. Kom even aan. Oh, ik wil eigenlijk wel je ding stelen. Ik ga wel even op mappen.
23 hits.
Oh, zijn mensen bij jou?
Nee, ik luister ook gewoon helemaal niet.
Wat ben je ook helemaal, man?
Jij hebt een beetje achterin Chrissy.
Maar ja, een beetje achterin, wij zijn al helemaal weg.
Can't lose.
Oh well, gaan loesoe.
Alleen met jouw kleur. Maar als ik een expresspistol
Alleen ben ik
doe
tot aan
maar...
beneden.
Ja, maar ik stek al
Doe maar
minis
ding weg.
en een medkit.
Doe ik me tactical die weg.
Doe ik die over. Zie je iemand?
Ja,
Nee, ik schiet gewoon. Ik heb toch tron. Oh, cirkel.
Ah, dus kan er zonder van je kopen.
ga je echt gewoon zo met schieten? Jij bent echt...
Nee!
Nee. Ja, nee.
Een
Ja.
guy! Een robot! Een McDonald's! Kom hier, McDonald's!
Ik ben
Ja, daar ga, en René gaat daar werken.
Nee, je
Ik
is
heb niet
zoveel.
ook daar werken.
Maar ik wil niet van je gaan, anders kan ik nergens werken. Doe even dan niet. Ja, je wil een baan hebben. We laten hem geld doen. Niet met mij. Nee, ga niet shoppen, dan gaan we lekker met geld, hè. Ga je lekker met geld.
Ja, we gaan jouw toekomst echt verwoesten.
Nee,
Kom
dat
op.
moet kunnen, hè. Oké, ik ga het wel goed. Ik ga toch niet naar KC.
Ja, doe maar.
Kom nog een kan!
Mij zien ze niet. Ik ben koude pro.
Jong zelf. Ik kan hem bijna kapot, maar zo nog guys. Oké, is een Mac en guys. Oh, ik heb 2 squads hier.
Nee jongen, McDonald's, wat doe jij man? Jij hebt zoveel... Jij hebt 50 HP man, jij hebt 50 HP.
Helemaal niet, weet je hoe vaak gemist? Hij had geen 50 HP, dat kan ik je wel vertellen.
Nee jongen, in het hutje jongen, waar
Er zijn echt fucking veel mensen.
Jongen, jij speelt nu niet meer op computer.
Echt wel, ik speel wel computer.
Ja,
Alleen,
ik ben gewoon Rams, dat is niet moeilijk. Als
Echt,
ik met Rams ga lopen, gewoon alleen maar rechts en mij nog niet links, maar weet je niet, nee.
zie je telkens scheef ik ben?
Anders kijk ik ook gewoon naar de livestream, dan kan ik zien of je op je computer speelt.
Echt hè?
Volgende gaat toch wel eens een ander gesprek houden.
Nou, ik moest er wel hard om lachen.
Ja, maar dat is dan iemand niet zo grappig, ja? Niet meer leuk. Nu gaan we hebben over... Theo, jouw parater.
Ik heb ondertussen alweer 3 biljoen koekjes.
Al geen baan, oké, ja, dat is ook wel...
Nee, het kan eens een keer, gaat ook onder de brug wonen.
Nee, ik ga bij Chinees wonen.
Waarom ga je bij een Chinees komen? Dan moet je gewoon gaan rijst hebben of zo.
Ja,
Weet je ook lekker?
Weet je,
Oh nee, hij wil de hele dag door anime kijken, oh ja.
nee, ik wil naar, ik wil bij de,
Ja, goeie keus. Ik ook
Nee,
Fortnite
ja.
werken.
De kaart. Nee, goed zo. Je bent een echte Nederlander, dankjewel. De echte
Ah,
Nederlander.
nou, dat is geen Nederlander hoor. Dat kan ik je wel vertellen.
Ja, maar ik ga gewoon later met een motor en dan ga ik gewoon kaart kopen. Dan ga ik kaart kopen.
Ja, jawel.
Ja, je moet gewoon een hele bijzondere kaas kopen, wat heel giftig is. Iedereen...
Want iedereen kan gewoon kaart kopen. Ik ben een Nederlander, oké? Ik ga kaart kopen. Nee, wat doe jij? Nee, ik ben gisteren. Dit zegt 0 van dit, jezus, niet verrassen maar vergiftigen. Juist.
Mijn telefoon is bij de liggen, maar mijn vader die heeft mijn lader ergens genakt of zo geloof ik. Want ik kan mijn lader niet meer vinden, die hing daar bij mijn bed, maar ik zie hem nergens meer.
Karma.
Ja, wat is een karma. Ik kom van school af en ik zie dat mijn lader weg is en ik denk, mijn lader!
Ja, dat is nog nooit karma.
Mijn telefoon ondertussen bijna leeg.
Sowieso komt wat karma, maar ik moet karma.
Laat ik geen straks karma. Nee, toen kon hij niet meer praten. Toen dacht hij, help.
Nee, maar ik kan wel niet zo zeggen van jij wordt heel erg anders, want ik wil je zeg maar jouw locatie vertellen.
Nee, precies.
Ik heb wel 3 pop.
What the fuck? Deze vent is lekker! Hij schoot net op de andere kant en hij raakte mij! Hij is wel 5 HP trouwens, maar... Dus je kan hem nog pickaxe als het nodig is, maar...
En ik heb mis.
Ja, blind of zo.
Jij bent of zo. Jij bent dood of zo.
Hou je bek, jongen. Laat me scheet na. Moet je op dansen. Ha! Kama! Kama is a bitch! Hij speelt sowieso op PC.
Jongen, wat is dit? Ik heb het
Hey, dat is mijn pump! Is mijn pump! Is mijn pump!
Chimpansee.
Ja, hier zit een paar guys. Hier zit een paar guys met zijn best wie.
Ja, een paar guys zijn best wel vies, dus bij elkaar maar 100 HP of zo, boeien. Bij elkaar maar 400, 500 HP, boeien. Het zijn toch PC guys, boeien.
Ja, hij heeft geheeld.
Ja, het zijn enge PC guys, wat denk jij?
Ja, daarom. Wat dit?
Het is enge PC guys.
Ja. Oh ja, hij is allemaal low.
Ze zijn niet eens allemaal low, joh.
88, 30 en je had een fucking shield.
Eentje is letterlijk low.
En de ander had gewoon shield.
Eentje had ik nog, die rust nonsens. Nee jongen, we gaan je
Zo knap.
Ja, is echt wel goed.
Ja, ga jij maar onder de brug wonen?
Nee, ik heb geen zin in. Ik woon gewoon in huis.
Ja, jij wel, nee.
Nee, ik ga gewoon in de speelhal wonen en dan ga ik gewoon verstoppen.
Gewoon als we vast nog een PlayStation verstoppen, jou verstoppen onder de ballenbak. Maar dan ondertussen heb je dan al de PlayStation 6 of 7.
Nee,
Ja, maar ik kan niet speelhal, maar echt gewoon zo'n gamehal. Dan ga ik wel
Ja.
Nee, maar gewoon diep in de ballenbak. En dan zit gewoon zo'n geheime kamer en dan kan je gewoon in.
Je weet toch die klimkasteel, ik ga daar gewoon mijn uit voor maken, hè. Ik ga gewoon afsluiten.
Waar? Wat?
Je weet toch gewoon die klimkasteel, helemaal in die allemaal van die parken, dat je helemaal boven
Ja.
en zo. Elk van mijn huis ga ik gewoon afsluiten. En dan dacht ik, ja, ga ik gewoon zo naar binnen.
Fortnite, dat is gay.
Wat speel je dan?
Nee, Fortnite is helemaal niet gay. Ja, zit zo goed.
Plus, Fortnite, wie van Fortnite is gay? Want Fortnite is een spel. Fortnite kan niet gay zijn.
Echt wel? En ze zijn allemaal, het zijn allemaal, wat het allemaal, games.
Ja, maar, misschien zijn hun kunnen wel allemaal homo zijn, maar dan is het spel niet homo.
Nee, maar hoe is het spel zonder dan? Hoe is het
Ja,
nou
door twee homo's, maar dan is het spel niet homo.
We hebben echt mooie gesprekken, by the way.
Ja, echt. Nou, jij niet dan met je in de ballenbak en op je toren of zo.
Ja, maar dat ga ik gewoon echt. Waarom een huis kopen, kan je dat doen?
Ja, maar je grap, je kan ook gewoon ergens in een kraakpand of zo gaan zitten.
Ik kan gewoon een oud kasteel wat bijna gaat inkrakken.
Nou,
Ja,
doe maar dat maar niet. Bijna intrappen, je zegt het zelf.
Waarschijnlijk erin. Ja, we zijn allemaal gratis erin. Elke nacht ben ik super koud. En dan kan ik dus ook niet slapen, omdat gewoon dus ja, bijna kapot gaat. En ik ook nog bang dat hij het ook gewoon inzakt. Ja, dat lijkt me echt een goed plan.
Ja, echt hè. Nee, maar dat lijkt mij wel echt de beste plek om gewoon te wonen.
Ga ik liever in de ballenbak wonen.
Ja, in een ballenbak.
De ballenbak!
Ik heb nu al 92 berichten, jezus. Poeh.
Jongens, help.
Kan niet, sorry.
Ja, jongen, ik heb help!
Ja, net of wij binnen 5 seconden kunnen komen of zo, nog niet eens.
Ja, maar daar is een guy, hier zitten 2 guys in. Wat vind ik omdat ik ben 3 keer gestinkt, maar die guy werd nog 2 keer gestinkt. Heb ik ook nog shoot gebroken ook. Heb ik ook nog 1 keer ook.
Jongen, ga weg met je kutpunt dan.
Nee, dat zijn cool.
Ik ga ze allemaal pakken. Ik ga ze allemaal de moeder neuken. En ook dat is back.
Gooi even niks.
Oh ja.
Gewoon in.
Ook zelfs als waar gooi je laatst niet zo in? Wat een mooi.
Dan gooi je niet in.
Dat weet ik wel.
Je kan ook gewoon niet op elkaar. Nee hoor, je moet gewoon niet elkaar inrennen.
Hij gooit gewoon
Wat doe je?
Dat weet ik wel. Oh, wat fuck. Iemand is daar gepickaxed of zo.
Oh mijn god. Wat doe je?
Oh, ik ben Remus dan.
Ja, ik ga die van René pakken, die van jou niet.
Oh my god. Ja, pak ook hem, want ik wil alleen met jou spelen, vriend.
En ga
Ja,
ik
nu ben je best, hè.
What the fuck?
Oké, ik speel met jou.
Ja,
ik heb wel mooi uit de niks heen.
ja, maar dat deed ik expres, jongen.
Maar die partner of zo.
Ja, jongen, yes.
Nee, deze is koud. Ik denk ook wel tegen jou te komen hoor, maar ja.
Oh, echt? Ik heb nog gewoon niks gewoon echt. Eet je gooit die om naar Afrika.
Hé, dit is met Afrika, hè? Dat vind ik racistisch.
Ja, vuile racist.
Ja, maar je had toch recht vooruit dat huis in moeten gooien. Niet rechts in het huis.
Ja, maar ja, wat zit er te maken met Afrika dan, hè? Hè?
En we gingen anders in het gebouw. Oh.
Maar je schoot gewoon je voet, hè, Kevin?
En je voet is eraf, Kevin.
Nee.
Kevin, je komt ook heel goed door de deur in lopen, hè? Maar edit zijn belangrijk om te oefenen. Niet even oefenen door de deur lopen, nee, alleen edit oefenen, ja.
Je moet ook leren schieten.
Kevin, de volgende keer eerst even leren lopen en dan pas leren editen.
Ik kan heel goed lopen, kijk maar.
Nou, ik zag er niet de deur in lopen hoor. Maar ik kies gewoon met deze zo.
Wat weet ik veel.
Kevin, raak mij eens. Kevin, raak mij eens als ik loop.
Ik raakte hem.
Nee.
Deze raak ik niet, maar die eerste raakte ik. Oh, wacht hoor.
Ewa.
Ja, we gaan alles voor vandaag. Ewa in de boom.
Ewa in de
We
boom.
gaan alles voor vandaag. Ik ben niet technisch, ik ben geen... Eigenlijk altijd, maar ik ben niet zo'n kind van... Kijk mij, ik ben zo cool, kijk mij gewoon.
Nee, want papa, alles goed vandaag hier wel, alleen je oma is...
Sorry als mijn vader soms binnenkomt kijkers, maar ja, ik...
Oh, Kevin. Hé, lama.
Op 240.
Ja, dat is lekker.
Kevin, pak jij de lama?
Nee, ik weet niet waar die ligt.
Ik heb een expressbeste, Theo, kom hier. Theo, kom hier. Ik heb een expressbeste voor je.
Wol je eens weer?
Hey René, wil jij goede loot van mij?
Theo.
René.
Ja.
Kom eens. Ja. Een hele goede deal, maar die zijn. Eigenlijk was dat de slechtste kill die ik ooit heb gedaan, maar goed, ben niet goed de streeten, dus jij...
Ik heb eentje volle getagd naar beneden.
Ik heb eentje niet getagd, ik heb niemand getagd, maar ik ben wel dood. Kan ik ondertussen wel gewoon even mijn deur dicht doen.
Jongen, wat is dit?
Nee, wat is het?
Ik had één zomaar met mijn neef volgens. Ik heb kun jij zeggen, alle 3, alle 4, alle 5, alle 9. Jongen, we hebben straks best op Deon.
Kom op Deon, red ze allemaal.
Ja, ik kan niks. Als ik
Tuurlijk
niks
kan je
heb,
wel
is
wat.
shield
Je kan wel wat Deon.
Kijk wat hun hebben, shotgun. Alle teamers hebben shotgun, shield.
Ja,
alles.
dat is pistol.
Ja, maar ik heb een shotgun nodig. En shield.
Ik kreeg dat ook al zonder shotgun met pistol, want je blijkt bij de eenmaal.
Ja, maar ik heb shield nodig. Ik heb power nodig.
Nee.
Oké, als iemand nog stress is, Oké, maar pam. Gewoon recht op de
How do you
kop.
feel about the heavy assault rifle? Voor het Battle Royale. Wat vind je van de assault van de AK?
Wacht heel even, kijkers.
Ik geef het een 4, omdat ik graag
Doe maar
eigenlijk wil
ready.
dat hij een paar keer goud heeft wordt.
Maar ik ga de stream gewoon kijken. Waar had je vast?
Ja, maar het is waarschijnlijk weer een herhaling hoor. Ja, me hit in replay. Want dat komen zo terug, zijn we pauze.
Ja. Nog 34 minuten volgens mij.
Nou, dan komen ze pas terug. Goud tag.
Dat is toch...
Wie
had ik
waarom
tegen
pak je
moet-
met die goud tag?
Echt hè. Als je tegen die guys moet zo, ik word geowned tegen vierkant.
Oh, ik moet ook pissen gewoon doen.
Oh, ik kon nog eens iets te doen man. Kijk dan! What dit? Kevin, kijk Kevin dan! Kevin! Oh, Kevin is goed. Kevin gooit... Hij met L shift.
Hele tijd.
What the fuck? Nee maar gast! Weet je, what the fuck?
Deon!
Kevin gooit... Ja. Ja.
Hij heeft een mansgelijk eruit getrokken.
Ah.
Is iemand?
Maak hem op tenminste ready. Maak ready nou.
De livestream is niks aan. Nu nog.
Even normaal doen, hè? Even, heel even wachten.
Nee, ik heb geen tijd om te wachten.
Oh, Kevin,
Wat
doe
willen?
het.
Met de gouden vleugels of met ah, ik moet even een goede plek doen. Voor deze.
Nee, gewoon die erbij hoort.
Even wachten.
Wat?
Nee, ik ga niet even wachten. Maak je hem maar ready. Kevin. Jongen, best wel dat ik aan het livestreamen, hè?
Dan ben ik weer helemaal noogies.
Ja, maak gewoon toekomst niet veel. Al weet ik wel ready.
Ik ben het zo aan het doen. Pam, 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 piem.
Pim pim pam. Ik schiet je hoofd. Pim pim pam. Hé, maar ik heb gewoon een cube gedaan, omdat cube heet ook Kevin en ja.
Nee.
Ja.
Nee. En ik heb een eeuwig gedaan, want één van goed zijn.
En omdat je René de Eenhoorn heet.
Nee, ik heb geen doen. Ik ben geen beter.
Oh, gewoon te doen.
Maar hij heeft zo niet geen beter ding, dus ja.
Doe nog maar ready, Deel.
Ben ik
Ja,
al?
maar dan gaat hij.
Helemaal niet, bij mij ben jij niet ready en ben ik ready.
Kevin, doe ready.
Ik ben ook de hele tijd ready, jij was niet ready.
Bij mij staat dat jij...
Ik kan het zo, kijk maar op mijn stream. Kijk, ik vind net maar op mijn stream nou hoor. Trouwens, kijk als in één keer random mijn stream uitvallen en René, als we in één keer random ik uitval, dat komt omdat mijn vader even bezig is met de kabels. Yep.
Opeens is er bij de laatste fight, opeens... is alles uit.
Jongen, dan ga ik een vertrekte penis af. Dat vertel ik maar niet.
Ja.
Maar, dat vertel ik maar even niet. Maar
Ja, nee. Akker.
nee, nee.
Allemaal. Of jij was op deze plek kunt zien. Theo, kijk wie is het.
Wacht, ik zit vast. Ja, oh joh. Hey, ik weet wacht. Nee! De PlayStation. What the fuck is gebeurd? Hier. Diepenbakkers.
Deze heb ik ook. Deze heb ik ook.
Ik
Welke?
ook.
Al deze dieven heb ik ook. Wat wil je? Die heb je nodig.
Welke?
Die Rio Grande. Die
Oh ja, die heb ik ook.
Ik weet niet. Kom maar even verder.
Hier is
Ja, wel
Printjes
eens
Press
een
Window. Daar Printjes Press Pistol.
Nou, dat is niet per se gewoon die plek hoor, maar oké.
Als ik ook op die plek. Ik ging hem uit de kist.
Ja, maar hij ligt niet altijd precies op die plek. Eén keer ligt hij daar misschien. Ja, misschien 2 of 3 keer, maar hij ligt daar niet altijd. Als je altijd dezelfde multi zou krijgen, dan wist ik wel welke plekje ik altijd heen ging.
Ik heb een auto met een sniper.
Ik heb alleen maar hout.
Wow, zit iemand in de oud.
Ik heb 2 dingen, maar ik ben tante scheef.
Oh, ik heb
Eentje
net
nog.
Hoe voel je about de AK?
Ik heb eentje nog.
Een AK? Ik heb nu een
Jasper, hoe kan je
AK.
er eentje nog hebben?
Maar ik heb maar 4 van
Nou,
de
ja, bedankt.
Lekker kijken.
Kijk.
Ja.
Hou je kef.
Hé jongen, nee jongen, je staat voor de slipjes over.
Ja, I don't give a poepoe.
Ja, die liet liggen voor mij. Eigenlijk niet, maar dat maakt niet uit.
Shootbox, eentje nog.
Ja, had ik net ook. En Deon die maakt weer zo'n vervelende opmerking. Wie durft?
42, 42.
Wie durft? Nee, dat dacht ik al. Niemand die durft. Niemand die durft, hè?
Ja, geen inboekje op camper.
Dat is een mens.
Dat is mijn kill. Ik zeg.
Ah, die ligt eigenlijk nog een shotgun voor mij, ja, hier. Op E pak ik op, dan gaat naar I naar inventory en dan verander ik. Deze is zo, dan verander ik deze. Nee, die heb ik vermoord.
Maar...
Hij had nog. Die kill.
Nee, maar we waren denk ik maar met z'n drieën. Want die ene guy die ging automatisch dood. Ik heb niemand gefinished toen, dus.
Ja, maar dan waarschijnlijk gewoon zo'n squad weer dan.
Hij heeft hem
Ja,
misschien
jij
geliefd.
was nog eerst dood.
Ja, of hij is verliefd of zo, ja.
Ah, ik bedoel, jou was als eerst gekillt.
Ik heb checks
Ja.
flash.
Kom maar aan.
Volgens mij. Ja.
Ja, ik had bijna als eerste gekild, ja.
Ja, dus hoe kan die dan eerder nog zijn dan, of is het dood zijn dan onze nog?
Nee, die was gewoon knocked.
Ja, maar ik weet echt niet waar die laatste kaart is. Wacht, laat me eens even campfire, laat me eens even campfiren.
21 daar.
Oh my god.
Eentje no shield.
Jongen, ik zie
Maar
niemand.
ik kan niet meer schieten. Nee, ik kan niet meer... Maar ik kan niet meer hitten, toch?
Jawel, dat
Oh,
kan
ik
gewoon.
dan kan we dansen, ooit kunnen we dansen, maar dat is weer bouwen. Maar ik wil toch even op dansen, dan kan je goed niet zitten. Of op deel. Zie je al iets?
Oh, jullie doen moeilijk, maar gaan we pushen.
Nou, rustig.
Misschien hebben we wel een strafpistool.
Nou,
Oké,
denk ik niet, dan zouden ze die wel gebruiken.
2!
Jongens.
Als je even naar beneden komt.
Ik ga naar mijn... Ja, giet gewoon. Hij glijdt naar ons toe, Theo, kom. Jij wordt verpoest, hier zijn ze letterlijk. En ik word de finish, wauw. Geweldig.
Ja, man. Lekker one pump, hoor.
Waarom ben ik helemaal naar me toe om te finishen, maar dan gaan ze captain laten gewoon liggen. Wat is dat voor bullshit?
Wat? Hoezo de fuck valt die
Oh, er is
ding
geen
in?
agenda, je hoeft er niet mee te
Jongen, wat is
doen.
dit man? Wat is dit voor tryhards?
En je trekt
Ja,
een
maar-
kastje eraf, ja?
Ze vindt ook gewoon te iedereen.
Jongens, ik moet heel even weg, doeg.
Alweer? Oh mijn god. Maar dit is toch geen agenda, je krijgt geen AP, je krijgt geen punten bij door ons te finishen hoor. Je hoeft niet te finishen. Ik wil gewoon even trio in plaats van, oh finish jou, nee.
Ik ga wel zo hoor. Jij ook?
Dat denk ik ook wel zo.
Ik zet mijn controle even op,
Ik ga alleen nog even 1 of 2 potjes.
ik denk half uur. Ik denk mijn controle denk ik over half uur zet en dan gaat hij uit. Ik heb mijn controle over half uur gezet. Kom even duo. Jump.
Ik kan niet kicken.
Gewoon bounty. Bam. Down. Ready. Ja, kust.
Maar hier scherp je aanzet voor als ik even terugkom.
Hier, ja. Shareplay starten. Ik heb Shareplay start. Maar ik ben echt blij. Wacht, ik ga de skin aan doen. Snel. Bam, boom, shakala. Boom, shakala. Ik heb hem. 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 Ik heb hem.
Ja, ik moet wel lekker zijn stream gaan vermaken. Waarschijnlijk kijkt toch niemand. Of wat kijk jij?
Oh, is hij nog steeds live?
Dat is een nieuwe live gepakt.
Hallo mensen, Kevin is even weggegaan.
Hij is live.
Ja. Hij is nog steeds bij die... Hij is nog steeds bij die...
Zet je wel het geluid uit, want wil je het herhaling.
Oké. Kijk mijn skin. Jongen, er is helemaal niks van mijn skin aan de hand. Huh? Kijk mijn nek. Kijk mijn hoofd.
Je hebt geen pak aan. Je hebt geen pakken, maar mijn nek is gewoon weg.
Ik ga één potje. Kom die mee gewoon doen. Ja.
Ja, misschien op 2 ga ik denk ook 1, hè, maar... Oh, moet nu echt meteen doodgaan.
Nou, dat is toch pijnlijk. Oh, we gaan gewoon zo laag, joh. Ja, deze guy, jongen, die ga ik even klaar. Is je nog?
Ik heb ook even nog en ik ben genoeg van echt zo ver.
Ik ook, jongen, metro's dit zo.
Ik wil nog face ook, dan rennen guy die is ook gewoon legit genokt. Ja, face me, ja. Oké.
Jongen!
De kijkers zien trouwens echt helemaal niks. Kijkers zien waarschijnlijk gewoon
Kijkers,
de lobby.
wij zijn supergoed. Wij staan eerste en we zijn supergoed. Luister naar ons. Wij hebben een hele goede tactiek. Alleen maar doodgaan.
Wat een mooie tactiek.
Jongen, kankerleden, jongen. Oeh, ik heb ze allebei.
16. Ik heb eentje 32 hit.
In de
Laat
rug.
een guy op ons.
Ja, maar... 12. Jongen, ik had een sandwich. Ze zijn best weak, ze hebben allebei geshield.
Genghis Khan.
Nee, heb je hem? Pak hem.
Nee, ken jij Genghis Khan?
Wat?
Ja, Genghis Khan.
Ja, ken jij die René?
Wat zijn mee?
Nee,
Ik ken wel, want
waarom
daar
moet ik
wij...
best kennen?
Die hebben wij met geschiedenis, dus... Heb jij hem nooit met geschiedenis gehad? Ja. Heb jij hem nooit met geschiedenis gehad dan?
Wij wel... Nee, hier naartoe.
Ja, per, ik ben te laat.
Nee, maar ik heb het ook gehad, Kevin.
Ja, ik ook. Ik ben nu bezig met Anne Frank. Ja, ik ook.
Frank, Tweede Wereldoorlog.
Ja, ik ben nu bezig met de tijd van Anne Frank en de Joden en de Hitler met zijn koude snoertje.
Hey!
Oké, gelukkig hebben we hem grap niet gehoord. Die grap wil ik ook echt niet maken, hoor, maar oké.
Wat dan? Hier, wacht, ik heb de stream nu kunnen ze niet meer horen, wat dan?
Goeie tijden.
Oh mijn god. Oh kijk, nee, maar dit mag ik gewoon niet eens zeggen, jongen. Oh. Dit is zo erg.
Ja, maar zij kunnen die waarschijnlijk ook horen ook, want ik weet niet of je dat zo goed kon laten horen, maar...
En ben je zo erg?
Maar zet er altijd, dat zetten we altijd bij andere tijden.
Jongen, Genghis Khan!
Nou, rustig. Rustig met je Genghis Khan.
Ik wou het
Hey, niet zo gillen, jongen, Deon. We zijn wel live, hè.
Ja, doei. Ik moet gaan, doei.
Ja, doei, tot nooit meer ziens.
Ja. Ademma!
Ik heb wel even chef, ja.
Is goed. Kunnen jullie tenminste nog kijken naar de slechte gameplay van René? Of nee, ik ga Sharplay niet joinen. Ik ga gewoon heel even kijken naar die World Cup.
Oké.
Ik denk dat de kijkers dat leuk vinden.
Word je wel gemonteerd?
Ja, alsjeblieft.
Hoppakee.
En ondertussen speel ik het spelletje. Ondertussen speel ik het spelletje. En ik ben nu al af.
Ik koop gewoon het scherm doen, hè.
Ja, weet ik. Ik ben er toch al af, dus. Ik doe even mijn muis op het beeld, zo. Nou, we kijken ondertussen naar ergens Stormer of zo.
Oké, we worden gewoon punt, ja.
Ergens Stormer. Ja.
Maar ik ga dit ook zo laat zoekje. Ik weet niet of jij echt voor je item shop gaat of niet.
Hoe laat is het ondertussen dan? Oh, joh, valt wel mee.
Ga je voor de item shop?
Nee, maar het valt wel mee. Hoe laat het is toch?
Oh, als ik echt eens in kijken.
Oh nee, dan ga ik voor de item shop. Dan ga ik voor de item shop.
Ja, oké. Jo, hè.
Doeg. Nou, kijk eens, ik ga dit dan even lekker in mijn eentje kijken.
Hello family of Fortnite, TW here, and throughout the Fortnite Champion Series, we're going to be trying to get more acquainted with the world of competitive Fortnite. Today, we're going to be discussing the 3 different stages of a competitive Fortnite game. The early game, the mid game, and the late game. And what different players have as their goals during these stages in order to achieve the ultimate goal, the Victory Royale. Let's start with the early game. Also called the looting phase, this is where all players are attempting to secure their chosen landing spot and maximize their loot potential. In competitive Fortnite, every game matters, so players try to strike a balance between high loot opportunity and safety so as to not waste a game by being eliminated early. Do you drop at a high loot POI like Retail Row or Paradise Palms? Or land at a safer POI on the edge of the map, where less players drop because of less loot. Regardless, the goal is common. Whether you take a passive approach by looting safely on the side of the map, or an aggressive and risky approach by letting others loot for you and finding now that we know what the early game is, what should we be looking out for during this stage? First, being contested. The first realization players make when landing is whether you're being contested or not, to prepare for the upcoming possible fight. Trios want to try to force your opponent into the more disadvantageous position cut off from loot potential. Either they have to make a desperation push, or they're stuck with less loot where you can easily clean up. That's just the beginning, because even though it starts off high intensity with all the different people, it quickly slows down as rotations begin towards first zone. Looting doesn't end here, and most competitive players will have a loot path which optimizes their possibility for finding the crucial mobility and weapon upgrades. Thanks to the new battle map feature in the replay mode, we can study these loot paths and rotations quite easily these days. So go check that out in any replay from the Fortnite Champion Series by going into the Compete tab and finding your favorite player. It will vary from game to game, but generally, we move into the mid-game around the middle to end of second zone. The mid-game is the calm before the storm. Before the storm circle gets too small where it forces the engagements. Most players' goals are positional, but in some cases, depending on how the early game went, you again have to strike a balance, this time between looting and farming, or going for the best position. Looting could include playing extremely aggressive to earn yourself other players' loot. In trios, it's much harder to play that aggressive playstyle, since fights take longer and cost more. You'll want to be efficient with any rotations or fights you have to take. You don't want to spend your precious mobility, valuable resources, or health. This is why you'll see a lot of the top players look directly for center zone in the mid game. When you're in the center zone, you end up giving yourself the most chance of being in the next storm circle when it gets revealed. You'll then have to go less distance and thus spend less materials. Finally, the end game. The most exciting, hectic, thrilling, and difficult part of competitive experiencing an end
Sorry kijkers, dat moest door even.
also be fun times to play and watch. This is when you take all the advantages you built in the early game and the mid game and use them to push yourself to a victory royale and also find as many eliminations as possible.
Even kijken, dus ik zou dat dus nooit dan mee kunnen doen. Gewoon nee. Gewoon nee. Ja, maar op dat beeld schiet hij ook gewoon helemaal scheef, maar alsnog gaan ze raak kijken, dus dat snap ik dus nooit, hè. Gewoon, dat is gewoon één gekke lek eigenlijk. Dat heb je trouwens ook wel vervelend, want je in één keer gewoon even 100 AP of zo uit de lucht hit, dan denk je ook wel echt zo, ah shit.
So, whether you're watching or you're joining us on the field, take stock in the stage of the game. The early game, when you're trying to get the best possible loot while it's still available. The mid game, where you're balancing positioning while maintaining what you built during the early game. And finally, the end game, where you spend all the advantages you set yourself up with to earn the victory royale. Use this to form your game plan in order to earn as many series points weekend after weekend. And maybe next time, we'll be watching and highlighting your top plays. This was Ball2W, and I'll see you in game.
Die was wel hard hoor.
What's up everyone, Sundown here to bring you the latest installment of Plays of the Week. The final opportunity to qualify for the Fortnite Champion Series happened over the weekend, and a number of players were able to push their way to the top and make some spectacular plays. Let's dive in and see who popped off. Kicking off Plays of the Week, we'll start with Kurtz down in South America as he lets no targets get away and says, "Not today."
Wat dit is één gekke vent. Een goede pumpits.
Staying down in South America, we're on board here with Nothing No Name as he's able to pull off the hot feet flank and get the positional advantage to pick up a number of elims.
Worden. Zo, dan heeft hij er een eentje lekker. Zo. Ja, maar deze fanties die kunnen wel wat hoor. Even.
Next, popping over to the Middle East, we have M. Siddiq on the tack attack, going to work and eliminating the rest of the lobby. Now normally we say jumping on over, but this time we mean it quite literally as 72 hours does the leapfrog to pick up an insane elimination.
Nou, die is wel hard hoor. Echt, die is wel hard.
Staying over in NA East, we have the world champion solo player Booga, well, dropping his opponents down a level or two.
Bam, toen ging hij naar beneden. Nou, toen was hij weg dan dus.
Over to Europe as we watch Fnatic Provoke get himself out of a tight situation and be the lone survivor to run the rest of the lobby.
Maar daar gaat hij. Zo. Nee, maar dit is wel even gewoon niet gezond hoor. Deze guys zijn ook wel echt even goed. Kijk, ik kan wel wat. Nou, per se niet, maar ik kan wel wat, maar gewoon nee, dit nee. Gekke luchtbreuk. Wat dit? Hij gooit er even één nade en boom, dead man.
And finally, over in NA West, is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's Rex getting his high ground shot out and going for a last ditch effort to get everything he can.
Die is wel kut hoor.
That's it for the top plays from the qualifiers, and the stage has been set as we head into the finals this weekend. Make sure to tune in at Fortnite.com/watch or in client, and we'll see you guys on the battle bus. Beep beep.
Deze was wel hard hoor.
Today we're going to be analyzing some of the biggest and most loot-heavy drop spots in the game. From everything to loot paths, timing, and fighting, the most crucial time that sets the tone of the rest of the game is the early game and your drop spot. Top trios have developed ways to split up and attack each of their drops in their own special
Gewoon alleen maar face mensen laten zien of wat? Face Moraal, face Mega.
as well as who's utilizing them to place
Oh, dan heb je ook nog Atlantis, Mitro.
drop that returns with a new twist in Season X. With both obelisks offering high priority loot and cube monsters offering free shield and ammo drops.
Ook wel een chille plek om te landen, alleen... Hé, dat was die van te straks. Die ze hadden gewonnen, dacht ik. Ik weet niet. Oeh, die is wel hard hoor. Maar goed, die minigun kan ik ook wel.
Most of the time, looting and moving is faster at the blacktops, and an increased elevation on height by default allows for an advantage to whichever trio lands there compared to those at the residential side of the drop. With two vending machines and multiple...
Maar dat is ook gewoon, ik zou dat... Wauw, gewoon... Je zou denken gewoon gekken door die truck heen of zo, maar ja, hij schoot gewoon precies overheen. Ja, maar hun zijn ook wel echt gewoon goed en werken ook wel gewoon goed samen. Weet je wel, dit zou ik met René op zich niet zo goed kunnen. Maar ik zou het op zich wel een beetje kunnen met René bijvoorbeeld, kijkers. Maar wij hebben niet zulke goede teamwork als dit.
Having good options for rotations with zip lines and drift boards, as well as the option of excess loot to get snowside if you have zone. Winning this drop and having room to play is a player's dream come true. Playing this drop, however, is very difficult. Usually with 2 to 4 teams contesting you because of how abundant and plentiful loot is, you will always have an uphill fight to face and conquer quickly if you want an advantage heading into mid-game. Taking fights here is all about...
Ik ga ook gewoon even op mijn bed liggen hoor, kijkers, want... Oké, ik heb niet echt... Mijn rug doet een beetje pijn van die bureaustoel. Zo. Heb je face dubs? Bam. Ik zie nu wel iets slechter natuurlijk, maar... Oké, oh, die werkt wel goed met een tekstcore. Niet verkeerd. Link. Link tegen zeker.
Something a little crazy, Sundown. Oh, are we now, Zeke? What are we doing? We are going to make some very bold predictions heading into the finals of the FACS. We also have our friend Monster Face standing by and Shy Wager. Gentlemen, if you want to say hello. What's up, boys? Heyo. Very quickly, within 30 seconds or less, you guys got to tell me your predictions for the region. All right, we're starting with Middle East, Sundown. Give me your prediction.
So, everyone else went with Feasible, Kappa, and Props. They won 4 of the 5 times, but I think them splitting their trios might have given them not enough practice, so my bet is going to go towards Flame, Prime, and Hunter. Expect to see them challenging towards the top, and can't leave out Feasible, Klops, and Kappa as well.
All right, Monster D-Face, OCE, go. Honestly, I'm going to have to go with Geese, Slaya, and Skyline, and the main reason is because Parpy and his trio actually went to NA East, where you guys saw them dominate the region in Week 4. So with that being said, I know the X2 twins are, you know, kind of one of the fan faves coming up, but I think Geese, Slay, and Skylar are really going to give OC a run for its money coming up.
Now for Asia, coming back to you, Sundown, what are those predictions? So Asia, and I've been pretty adamant about this, how there's been about 5 to 10 teams who are consistently up top, but my pick is actually the WGS trio of Jag, Horde, and
That is not my pick.
in Europe for the World Cup that had the most amount of experience. I think that's what's going to allow them to win.
Mensen die geen Engels kunnen... Zelf Engels, zelf... Ja, nou...
I think that can start a revolution are Stompy, Chinkin, and Aqua. They have a kind of counter play style that already have a rivalry brewing with the Kings of
Ja, dat is met Aqua.
Edge taking it over at the end of the grand finals.
Alright, for NA Shy, we're gonna pick your brain again.
Even één ding vind ik wel gaar hoor, dat Mitro nog gewoon in Atlantis zit. Dat is niet eens zo heel bekend. Je zou eerder denken in, weet ik veel, Ghost of Face of zo.
always getting their
En
winning.
misschien is daar ook wel voor gevraagd, maar wou die gewoon niet. Maar...
randomness and weird plays that happen at the end will have them make big plays to win at the end of the grand finals.
Now let's talk about Brazil, gentlemen. I'm going to take this one. I'm going to make a bold claim here. I'm going to say the red trio is going to bring it home. Snow, Avalar, and Techno Viking. We've seen Techno Viking. He almost made World Cup qualifiers. Just barely missed out on qualifying. The same for Snow and Avalar. This will be their weekend. They're very hungry for the win. I'm telling you guys, they are going to do it. Now, finally, let's wrap up with NA West. Monster D-Face, give us your take.
I'd be crazy not to mention the trio, Sentin, Rex, and Edgy, because they've been the most consistent in the NA West region. But I think another trio that can give them a run for their money is going to be Arkham, Falconer, and Vinny. And Falconer, by the way, the only free agent on this team here in the NA West, at the top of the board, still dominating. So I would love to see them come through and pull it big for the NA West region.
Some pretty bold predictions made across the board for everyone. Sundown, Shadowwage, Monster D-Face, thank you guys so much for hanging out. And for everyone at home, don't forget, tune in this weekend for the FNCS Finals, September 20th through the 2nd. You can watch at Fortnite.com/watch. Of course, guys, we'll see you on the Battle Bus.
Wat lopen ze daar gewoon te doen, joh? Een beetje te dansen en een beetje te lopen. Ja, erop doos wil ik ook hebben. Gewoon als tafeltje. Gewoon als klein tafeltje of zo. Dof. Ik moet heel eventjes wat doen, kijkers. Dus jullie zijn heel erg geweld. We gaan lekker aftellen. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year!
Welcome back, Fortnite fam. Now, we're gonna get ready to hop into some games Very quickly, though, just wanted to remind you guys that Europe, the Heat 1 has been pushed to tomorrow at the same time as Heat number 4. And Brazil has been pushed back 1 hour, so we'll be going into continued and extended coverage of the Middle East that happened this morning. Now we need 2 casters to get us onto all of the action, and for the first time ever, Monster D-Face and Shio Wager will be paired together to bring us these games. Gentlemen, I can't wait. Take it away.
Thank you, and thank you so very much, Zeke. And yeah, like he said, it's Monster D-Face and Shio Wager here on the horn for the first time ever, which is going to be pretty fun, man. I'm excited to cast some games.
And there's going to be some nice, scary casts, some nice, scary end games, mid-game coverage going on as well. Going back to the Middle East is very interesting. I touched on what you and Lupo were touching on, the whole can they keep up internationally. I thought they did a bang-up job. It was very nice, you know, fight dynamics, end game rotations. It was just got good stuff all around the board.
Yeah, it's one of those things, right? They weren't necessarily new to the scene. They just have a new kind of, I guess, platform to play on here. So to see all of the Middle East region under one hub, that has been very exciting. And it's also important to note, some of these guys are playing out of Southeast Asia as well. So shout out to you guys. Trust me, you're not all just kind of clumped into this region. We get it. It's a combination of a bunch of different types of players and people from different regions of that area. So far, though, they have done a great job.
And talking predictions as well, I'm pretty sure we have the same predictions of Klops, Fiesel, and Hero Kappa, who are coming out on top right now. We saw them just come second in the last game, so even when the world is against them, even when in all odds they shouldn't be winning or gaining points, second is a big feat, especially with Ewan's to boot on the side as well.
Yeah, for sure. When I actually did a VOD review over that trio specifically, they had some serious setups, and they were actually landing in the junction area. And I wonder if they're still playing it. I would assume so. I haven't quite seen the early game up there, so hopefully production can kind of look out for us and start us somewhere up north. And be cool to see, you know, kind of if they're sticking to the plan from the last time I reviewed them, or maybe I spoiled all the surprises. Right?
I mean, the big note about the trio is that they have had 2 partners, where they've had 4 people playing in total. They started with Hero, Fiesel, and Klops. Then they switched over to a guy named Flosa, who's also part of that Alter Ego org. And then now they've gone back to Hero, back to their, you know, kind of natural dynamic of how they qualified in the beginning, how they kept on top of the leaderboards. And it's going to be interesting to see what they learned from the more aggressive style of Flosaw, coming back to now the whole strategical, tactical, more launchpad, macro-oriented gameplay of Hero Kappa.
And you got to show some love to Hero Kappa. When we were checking out his gameplay, he was leading in frags, at least in the review that I did. He was really popping off. He was leading the box fights. He was getting the trades, setting up all the exchanges, and that's what you like to see in your trio. It almost makes me wonder, was he just AFK? Was something going on? Like, what's the story behind there? And that's one of the fun things when you're discovering a new region. It's learning, right? Learning about what these new players have to offer.
No, absolutely. Interesting factoid as well. The one thing that we saw was they actually used Hero for one of the open rounds and then switched to Flosaw halfway in the in the semis to go to finals. So I'm not sure what these guys are doing, if it's a flexible pick, if it's the first we've actually just seen substitutes being used before, ever, right? Because we did see duos partners switching off, but now when you have a whole team dynamic, subs come into question. So could it be that type of scenario? Or are they just looking to learn more things? Scheduling issues. It's going to be fun to see how it translates to when we're watching the games.
Yeah, absolutely. There's always so much to learn here. And again, it just kind of goes back to the question, who is going to come out on top? We have a lot riding on the stakes here as far as, you know, our friendly rivalries, as you guys have seen kind of happen here. But anyways, there's our cast of predictions. You can see kind of what's going on. We're going to be leading right into our games, though. So, Klops, Fiesel, Hero Kappa, these are players we've wanted to look out for. We've talked about, you know, Flame, Prime, and Hunter, right, as being a favorite for Sundown and Zeke. People to just look out for. And these are the teams we really want to watch and see if they can continue to pull that consistency throughout the weekend here today. But here's our game. Here's our map. We're loading in.
Starting fresh and early, everyone actually dropping out of the battle bus, just going to an overview of all the changes we've been seeing in Season X. We've got the Meteor, a nice floaty zone over there for people to take beams from and then drop down instantly. We have all these rift zones offering so many things in a risk-reward type of scenario. We have guaranteed pumps and tilted, but you can't build. So it's very interesting to see how people utilize that either early on fights or mid-game. Right now, we're tuning in straight into Retail Row for another throwback, Power versus ASMR.
Yeah, and this is a little bit of a rivalry here. So interesting to see that multiple teams are contesting for Retail. It's one of those power POI spots, and not to, you know, use the word power because I know the team has it in their name. But we're here. This is the place you want to own. And don't forget, guys, we're tuning in with Middle East region from Heat 2 Game 4. So the action has been popping off all day long. And we're hopping right in. So this is the early taste of what is going to unfold here as our 32 teams are getting ready on the map.
Yeah, I'm talking about Heat 2 Game 4. There are only 6 games of Heat. There are only 2 heats in the Middle East region.
Yes.
So this is the back half of games that were happening across the world from us. At the moment, though, we're going to be tuning into, looks like another team at retail as well, popping through. Looks like there's going to be an early Elam getting knocked down. This house in particular as well, the doghouse, kind of connecting the residential and blacktop site, is kind of the place you kind of fight for control. Actually, this is actually Greasy.
We're in Greasy. I was going to interject, but you're kind of just on fire there. Yeah, we actually hopped with another team. We're looking at Greasy here, so you guys know that taco time might happen at any given moment now. And the cool part about that is it starts to heal and regenerate health. And then at the same time, everyone's basically invincible. You cannot take damage during the time, but looks like, a little defense being played here by DSQ and DX, and he gets the exchange here, and that's why they're going to be able to successfully save Nijvi. But again, the dancing happens. Which, by the way, it heals the down player.
Oh, for real?
Yes, so if you're down, your health comes back up. The only catch is if you're down in the storm, no one heals. And then at that point, it could be extremely detrimental. You don't want to go down during that time. But hey, if you're down, taco time can actually save you if you're on the other side. So pros and cons.
One big thing about early and mid-game fights is utilizing down players as kind of, strategic forces in an actual fight, strategic places to actually pressure people to come out of their boxes, to kind of control the way they move. So if you get to a safe space, no more timers there anymore, right?
Hey,
the taco time will come back up.
Hostage for a little bit, just kind of hold them up.
Absolutely.
Use that little bit of leverage to bait out a team, turn that into a winning situation for you, because one of the cons of going on offense is you expose yourself. You're out there, you're vulnerable, you're moving, you're typically not building. And in those situations, that's where you get traded shots. But here, we're looking at Retail Row. This is what we wanted to focus on. NM7, FHD, and Young specifically have been hitting some disgusting shots over the course of today. The heavy sniper we know to be a favorite on a few of these players. Most teams only run with one sniper. We've seen multiple players picking up snipers on this squad.
Yeah, the biggest thing about the sniper as a power weapon, as a win condition type of weapon to make moves off of, when you have shockwaves, you can see right now in the inventory, right? Let's just take this example. You only have 2 chances to use that shock. You miss with a heavy snipe, depending on your heavy ammo count, which gets found in much bigger, varieties of 7, 13 ammo spread around the map. You have so many more opportunities to land that heavy sniper throughout any point in the game. It's more expendable, which means you can play off of it so much more frequently.
That's right, and just taking a look here, Yonks is going to get a nice little power upgrade to the loadout there as he picks up a blue pump shotgun. So the confidence is in their favor. They're actually glancing over at the Black Ops. They're not quite sure. They saw a little bit of aggro zombie movement, from the Fiends here, kind of lingering about, and because of that, they were cautious. They knew a team was here when we first checked in with them. Seems like the coast is pretty clear, and now they're gonna focus on taking off the pylons here.
Yeah, one thing I actually wanted to talk about, we noticed Retail and Greasy coming in, right? We also made that little mistake with the houses. The big thing, though, to note about that, a lot of these house layouts are very similar when you're looking at it inside. And with new POIs, suppose you are a team that goes Retail and it's so contested. Moving over to Greasy and having that similar layout, knowing exactly how to play those buildings, and as well looking at what are the power buildings in the POI. How does that kind of change the way you adapt to it versus a team that's not their monster?
I mean, you absolutely need to know your layout. It's one of the perks of mastering a place and playing off a place for long periods of time. Now, let's just say if things were to just change and something new is to show up, that could be a big issue for some of the competitors. But hey, the best of the best adapt, and someone's going to figure out how to make it work, right?
Absolutely. You get the experience of playing in Retail, apply it to Greasy. You might just get a whole new drop spot, right? Yeah, there's taco time. Hey, that's free shields. That's, as you said, the free utilization of having a knockdown teammate just staying alive. It's huge things you can play off of. We're going to be looking at a Polar Peak team right now. Also a very interesting POI that's been developed kind of in the meta game over this whole season. In the beginning, not many people wanted to land here, not seeing the actual potential of loot, as we did lose the big castle, but gained so much more map space and movement vertically around the map and actual sight lines towards Frosty, towards the cabins at the back, and even Happy Hamlet takes shots at people who are up here from Polar.
Yeah, Polar Peak has always been one of those power spots to hold. You have this super high elevation. You have loads of rotation opportunity. And you can see here, it's been so long since we watched early game.
I haven't even seen a team execute a proper kind of float across to Big Tree like that, right? So these are the small things that I nerd out over specifically is rotations, figuring out how people play their drop spots and figure out their loose situations. Something cool to note, guys, you actually don't take fall damage if you were to fall off a high place with the hoverboard.
You've got all the factoids down, man. These guys.
I play a lot of Fortnite.
Tips. Let's go, Monty.
Just something to think about. So don't panic, guys. If you ever want to really make an aggressive dive and push, it's actually a perfect opener to come in on the hoverboard. You are exposed, but you can jump off at any elevation, any height. And if you fail, it's okay. You'll be all right.
That's one thing you also pointed out on. It's actually Heat 1 Game 4 from the Middle East at the moment, which is a whole new slew of players that we're going to be seeing because we were watching Heat 2 previously, so we'll see how this Heat panned out, how the end games kind of differ. Before we saw a lot of top-down shooting vertically, not many people challenging it late at all, a lot of miniguns, a lot of AR spam. Once that 7th zone kind of passed, it was free reign for those people on height. It's just about how many points can you efficiently accumulate. So now we'll see what are some of the other different type of win conditions endgame, Monster, that you've seen in Comp Fortnite.
Hey, I mean, the name of the game is to earn points regardless. You see squads that like to execute zone 6 for high ground and then dominate, right? Put pressure down, dictate the pace of the game. You see other players that tend to kind of hold mid-ground tarp, hold down on shockwaves, and then make big moves towards the tail end, try and secure high ground, right? All of which are risk and reward plays. Personally, I think the scariest type of play style is going for height early. Those players that have the guts to go for zone 6 high ground, you're risking all of your material at the expense of going for elims, which aren't guaranteed to you, and then you're trying to control the pace of the battle, which again, some people struggle, right, in those situations, because if you don't do it properly, the server will turn on you, and now all of a sudden, you're losing.
Yep, there's so many teams alive near the end of the game. There's always one that can sense the weakness on height. Oh, you're not double tarping anymore. Your metal switched to wood. Here's an opportunity. Where's the spam?
You're not hitting me. So like, now it's time to fire back and set up those countermeasures. And that's one of the kind of tug of wars that these teams and trios face. But here we have Sidig, MS Idij and Rampage here, and looks like they are looking to battle here. So the team that we saw at Greasy here was already rotating out, and in comes the fire. So just exposing themselves, no fear at all, just fearless out in the open, using a little bit of ducking there, kind of trying to naturally avoid some shots here. The shield bubble comes down. Invoke is on a weird position here. And up he goes for the high ground right now, and that's a shockwave. He's going to leave his backside open. He's going to suffer all of his shield right there. It's going to be very painful.
Now, one big thing to notice in this breakdown is on approach, Rampage, Sidig, and M-Sidig all together were doing a 2-1 breakdown at all times. They always made sure there was one person a little bit higher, kind of switching roles to make sure they had that 2-1 split. And you see it in this fight. It's 2 people on a wall on one opponent. Then you have the breakdown of one person supporting up top. Right now, Rampage is in the big fray of the fight. Not sure exactly where his teammates are, but you can presume if he's on a wall, there is a teammate there to respond. Kimmy responds to the bullets by going absolutely knocked down in that state, and now going to be getting siphoned by his teammates. Now everyone grouping together. This is very good use of timing in the fight, because when you're split, you do have a lot of pressure, but there's a lot of risk involved. Now coming back together, if someone tries to peek you, you have 3 people aiming in. It's very good use of splits and regrouping.
Yeah, and something to learn from that battle, guys. If you notice how quickly it ended, is because they managed to just isolate. They isolated the player, they hunted him down, they forced him into a frenzy to build up for high ground, and that was the first pick. After that, the rest of the team just kind of fell in suit, trying to play catch-up to save their teammate. But we've seen a wonderful story of Minzu, Kinji, and Boxfighter Moon all day today. They had high ground. They took 2nd place in the first game we watched, in a crazy turnaround and some shockwave plays that were made towards endgame. But we know they've been making it to the end, and they weren't on our radar previous to this. So to see Minzu, Kinji, and Boxfighter Moon here finally making a little stake of the claim for fame here on the Fortnite competitive scene is really nice. This is one of the awesome things about being able to check out these new regions and give people opportunity.
Absolutely. This is the breakthrough moment at the moment. We've seen them be really good early game in Happy, but now they have the worst possible zone rotating in. It looks like it's pulling all the way up to the right side of the map, so they will be having a mid-game fight. Very smart use of utility, making sure with stinks you can actually track where your enemies are through that damage tick through the wall. Now you can see them actually responding after getting that first elim. This is what we're talking about earlier in the day. When you have a stink, it's not usually used to grief, but to gather info and then act upon after. to the box fight. As they're doing it, another 2 teams come up from the top. It's a huge mishmash at Grandma's house in the middle of the map. A lot of teams should be rotating through here. They might get even more action as Kinji goes down.
That's what I want to talk about. It was the aggression, the fearlessness. Moon actually jumps into a 1v3 battle for high ground build. He held it down, but unfortunately Kinji's going to get traded out here as Minzu was in the low ground trying to figure things out. And now suddenly, because they didn't, pull back the reins and play it patient here, they found themselves in another battle, but looks like these things are putting into great work as they catch another small pick there. And they managed to fend off everyone. So we'll see if they can get the reboot card, maybe pull out a clutch save at some point or another. But teams are in shambles here.
Absolutely. You touched upon it earlier where, we're happy to see these early games. And, in comparison to all the late games we always see, it's dope to cast a huge early to end game. One big thing that applies to both early and
he's
end
going
game.
in the zone, by the way.
Is timing. And this is a big use of timing right here, right? We do have a minute 14 till the zone moves. You do want to pick your teammate up, but now you're messing with not just 1, but 2 resources. First of all, you're losing a lot of time and positioning on the zone, as well as HP pools coming in. You do have a lot of loot you did gain from the fight that these guys just had, and slurps to tick through, but the stuff you use early to pick yourself up, you will not be able to utilize in the end game. So time is shared across both early and end. It's both affected. We don't usually get to see it used at the end game, but every decision you make, maybe they wouldn't have had that mid-game fight if they were faster off their looting, right? So seeing exactly how they move across the map, how they utilize time, can actually get into where they are in the middle and end game of their gameplay.
Yeah, so they sent one player out to go kind of, obviously get that revive, and then they stood, or they left Moon back behind to, be that presence on the build on this skeleton that remains of what the fight was, so that the team below, is cautious. They don't necessarily, want to move or get that freebie rotation out of there. So the whole team is back. Now they're able to reap some of the rewards here, the loot that remains, and suddenly they're all back in action here. Now with that launch pad there, they are going to be okay to get the rotation, but remember, he did catch a knock, so notice, they just want to go ahead and take a peek. See who's left here. What kind of loot can they still kind of grab up before it's time to go? And it's a short rotation, so they don't need the launch pad either. Looks like they are going to decide to probably go on foot here.
Short rotation, definitely risky, though. There are 65 people alive right now in the circle. Placement is a long ways away. Looks like Zanzis might be the last person in the trio from this fight, or one of the trios trying to move in. We'll see if it's possible for him to actually sneak through on this launch pad. Very patient gameplay there. Hopefully he has heals to come in, but this is the big problem with missed timing and getting in the zone a little bit later than you want. Kinji getting absolutely lit up in the air, going to be launching down. Might have to use hard mats early on, which means he won't have them end game. Once again, you see these connections between early and end. Usually you don't get to see why people are in such positions, but these guys took fights. They have to respond with the appropriate materials, and now they're actually turning gears to the offense. I think they noticed this guy was solo right here on the left. They do have a beam opportunity on the launch pad. Hopefully they get it. A lot of trees in the way, though, Monster. This is very interesting to see how these guys are kind of moving around the map to get in the zone mid-game.
Yeah, so far so good. Again, another little buff up to the loadout. When you get that minigun, suddenly now you have the means to put the pressure up. And TR Zanzis is going to fall there as they were relentless on the push. They hunt him down, they catch him down right there, and that's going to be a nice replenish for materials and loot of the sort. And they're big chilling right now. They have everything they need. Medium, light bullets. Mats are in a hurting because they're asking for attention from the server. But other than that, the points are accumulating. The steamroll's beginning here.
Yeah, the biggest thing to worry about is that zone still pulling up northeast over and over again. It means they have to move more vertically. There's already a hill in the way. Moving up pressure, you have to deal with lava, ever-changing ultimate low ground as well. There's so many things to take into account, and now they actually do have to move towards that way. The whole server could hold them back. We'll see if they use their utility to push through.
And here, back with this team, we saw them earlier before execute a nice isolation and pinch push against a full trio. Looks like they're setting up their next siege here. You saw a couple shots trading out, and interesting middle, the ME region kind of surprising me here with how much they are using just everything in their arsenal to fully commit to these battles here. They're throwing stinkers, laying down fire, and then fully commit into rotations and box pushes here. So this is some aggressive play we're looking at, Shayo. And it doesn't look like it's going to stop anytime soon. This is the type of play style we kind of signed up for here. We checked out this region, setting up the ramp boost right there. He's going to catch the 50-50 wall, but doesn't matter. Eagle isn't even looking. So catches that guy off guard. This little pick right there.
I think the difference in this trio is that usually people look for weakness to apply stinks to. they make the map weak. They make other trios weak first. Then they're like, oh, okay, these guys are weak. We're pushing in. They know exactly what fight they want to take. They actually make fights happen rather than sitting back and waiting for them. Right now, looks like these guys have 4 elims together. They're still affecting trios left and right, either picking up strays or making trios have just stray teammates. We'll see how much of an influence they have on the rest of the game, because it looks like so far they've affected 5 different trios coming in from the bottom left side of the map.
Yeah, Rampage actually took a lot of damage there, as does MSI Dig as well. And that's because the heavy sniper from the opponents nearby, they're just popping open those builds, following up with heavy AR fire. That's why they're able to, unfortunately, that's why they lost a lot of health here. But now having to expend all their heals, it kind of seems like it wasn't worth it. The teams they've taken out didn't really reap big rewards here. Now they're in a weird situation, scrambling for health and loot, but it's okay. We're approaching Zone 5. It'll reveal itself in just 15 seconds, and then they'll have to make a big decision of whether they get to stay and kind of plan up, or move out and use those shockwaves.
The big thing about decisions is they're the easiest to make when you have a lot of options.
Yeah.
The fact that they've ran out of all this utility, all these shields, limits their options. So now they have to play a certain type of way. They have to either find recyclable launch pads. Yes, they have the shockwaves, but then if they use them now, they lose the option as them for a win condition later in the game. So everything's kind of all on the plate now. They don't have any side dish available, no dessert coming up. It's one main course. They have to make sure it stays tasty. Hopefully they get in, and it's an easy coming from them all the way to the later parts of the zone where they can utilize whatever utility they have left.
Yeah, and this is a long rotation here, guys. They actually did not look out. The zone is pushing further and further away. Lucky for them, you can see the server is proactive. They're moving first, which is good, because if everyone's on the move, it allows you to cut across the field. The teams up on high ground hopefully wouldn't have had their ARs loaded, but not the case here, as Rampage gets chipped right out. He gets taken down this no-fly zone here. And he lands right next to the team. He's unsure of what he wants to do. He's trying to stay close but not fall down to a layer where he cannot be saved. But it looks like that's it. That's it. This team split up. Rampage is out the game. Now it's just a duo that remains here. This MSI Dig and Sid Dig here, cooking up this minigun. This is a very precarious pressure point, so close to their opponents there. You can get punished in return with a shotgun. It's not going to be the case here, as they're just dictating the push here. Jib goes down. It's going to be a nice catch for them. He actually just finished that. It wasn't even his elim. So he's just trying to be really sneaky here, see if he can steal some of the rewards here from the down body. Little does he know, it's right over lava. It's probably not even retrievable.
Yeah, man, one big contingency off of coming off of a launch and losing your shield. It's a very risky, very, very risky play, is going towards another trio.
Yeah.
As you saw, they use another person's shield bubble because you attract all that heat. Maybe that trio doesn't want to deal with it. They're low on mats. They use their own resources, right? You turn 3-man's loot into 6-man's loot. The thing is, 3 of those people next to you are also not on your team. So as soon as they sense weakness, they turn right onto you. You saw that with Sadig here, who now has 6 HP, taking a whole minigun brawl from the trio that was closest to him, who was he was utilizing their shield bubble to kind of take protection from, but once that ran out, they knew exactly what was up. Now we're moving into that 6th circle off of half and half. 45 people left alive, 19 trios still there, 7 need to go down for placement.
Yeah, still a lot of trios left in the game here, and this is a really weird spot to battle, especially with the low health. You don't want to step in the lava. You can't really afford to, and the elevation is only going to rise here as they go up and over the volcanic mountain. This is one of the steepest points in the world of the Fortnite world. This is similar to a polar peak climb here. It's a very steep wall you have to get up and over, and if they don't move soon, they're going to be stuck with their backs against the wall here. But you know what? It's more important, exactly, to try and pick up some siphon here. So Sigil going down there is going to be huge. That's going to at least help Sid get some health here if he can kind of hold out. A launch pad's going to be placed down in Upsy Daisy. Now into the next zone they go, and great tracking of his teammate here. That's actually a phenomenal job, even under the pressure and the circumstances that they found themselves in. Great job tunneling and finding his teammate.
Yep, even off of height and mid-ground, you mentioned going through this weird zone that's very vertical. Height still has a tough job actually tarping in and making sure they can actually shoot down on people while they're moving around, because they have to change exactly how high they are. That's why you saw these guys not get beamed exactly where they were. You have such a dynamic placing of all the mid-ground layers as well, going up and down, changing layers based off of natural low ground, because if you're too high, that's a threat, right? You want to be in the perfect position. Now they're using shockwave nades. The biggest thing about these, though, is when you're using them endgame, you do take a tent tick every now and then. these guys only have about 60 to 70 HP to play with. So every one of these shockwaves must be perfect, and some could also be saved. Jiren actually going down for a huge Siphon Elim and mats that these guys did need. They were almost shambles. Now they're not. The last almost shockwave coming in from Sadiq, still taking ticks away from his teammate. Sadiq actually going down, and Sadiq is the one up here. Another Elim on Fahad. He goes down. RPG available as well. Looks like Sadiq actually caught up with him in that mid ground there. Having mid ground over here is such a big deal as well, because you don't have to deal with any of the vertical pressure or low ground weirdness that goes on with the change of the map.
That's some interesting decision making right there. They split the shockwaves, saying, you know what, we can't afford to make any errors, right? We can't even shockwave together. Let's split up. Let's use our own shockwave so we can't make any mistakes. And that's what they're doing right here. They're trying to execute the perfect ways possible. Unfortunately, as I kind of brought it up, Dig does make a mistake there, and now he finds himself in an odd situation. He's in between all these enemies. His teammate's up on high ground. Up, he's trying to go to him. He's just landing in enemy boxes right now.
That one big
got to make a big move here, and he's going to get caught off guard there. Unfortunately, he did try to get that high ground. He was not fortunate enough to kind of secure the deal here. In comes the minigun pressure. This is an awesome job right here. NJ is going to fall down right there. The Siphon has to come through here so he can get this health bonus. This is putting him in just a better and better situation as time ticks on. And it's looking like a solo right now. This is looking like a solo endgame here, if I'm not mistaken. Everyone representing and looking out for themselves here. There's a huge, heavy snipe shot right there. Dig's going to get really hurt. Can he trade out a shot? The zone's going to go out and finish him off here. His power finds that one right there. And it's MN7 versus this last player right here. There's only 2 players remaining, Shayo.
Yep, it's game 4 in Heat 1, and the competition is getting hot. We have a big pump coming in. ASMR Spy goes down. The Power ASMR rivalry finally ends in the end game. It's now a 1v1 to see who gets those final 4 points, 3 of placement, 1 for the Elim. Nice, big, easy, fast peaks coming down from NM7. Full lot of available. He does have that pump or shotgun delay since he has 2 tacks in. Will it make a difference? Almost not even out of mats at all. A nice 180 tack shot from height takes down DSQND for those big points in. Power is still on top. They can't be stopped right now. Huge game from them.
That was wonderfully done for NM7. And with that, we're going to head over to the floor with Sundown to give us a nice little recap.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. And we see the Middle East has been heating up in the action that occurred this morning. Honestly, I'm a big fan. I love watching it, watching the early games and the mid game, the discipline when the team goes, but also the little bit of chaos and kind of like fanaticism that happens in the end games when all of a sudden, just as Monster said, it turned into a solo game right there at the end. But let's dive in and see some of the plays that were made in the past game. And first, we're going to hop on board with Toggle. His positional awareness and the fact that he's able to turn towards the rest of the storm and lay down these rifle shots means he's going to find a number of elims here. And you can see the rest of his team has been down. It's a tale of people making individual strong efforts in the end game. We kind of talked about it before, how they stick very close together in the mid and early game. But we've seen now over and over again, teams aren't necessarily able to keep that discipline when it starts getting hectic and all of these fights are going down. Players start dropping all over the place. Right now, Adam ZK able to find a number of picks using the minigun and the edits to get pressure, but unfortunately isn't clean enough to pick them up without taking back damage. Now you can see Adam is in shambles, so W Horse is trying to play the protector role, but they're in fights on the back of the storm, and this is where it starts to break down. Despite getting the Siphon, everyone on their team needs to now regroup, and boom, we flip back over. W Horse, whole team is eliminated, was able to pick up a number of elims. 5 players left, 4 trios in the match. Power NF from the low ground is able to pick up 2 elims in a row and then maintain his positioning through discipline and then close out in the 1v1, giving him a huge boost. And these clutch factors is what's going to lift these players up, particularly as we head into the grand final tomorrow. I mean, it has just been incredible watching the action so far and getting to see these guys really develop and continue on. And I just want to see what else happens going forward. We're going to throw it back into game with Showager and Monster. Gentlemen, take it away.
Thank you, Sundown. And yep, the action has been real here, Shayo. That was an exciting last game there. You saw for a second. Hey, Sundown, pretty face. We saw for a second there, you know, couple classic jump shotgun plays, kind of keeping that high ground, kept it real textbook. There was a, you know, that was his game to lose, if anything. And having the max to close out must be real good for the Power. trio who's been showing up this weekend.
It's always dope to see a kind of mid-ground team hiding out and coming up off the top. The coolest thing to see is the journey from early to end of all the trios coming in and how the decisions they made earlier affected their end game in total at the end. Now we're going to see everyone dropping out of the battle bus. Talk about the breakdown, Monster.
Yep, here we are, guys. Middle East, Heat 1, Game 5 is underway, and we have a really odd split here. It's a southern cut on the bus, which makes it any teams in the northwest side are going to have a rough time cutting across that field. By the time they touch down, the zone is just about to reveal itself. So those valuable seconds can really cut away from your loot timing and your battle positioning period. So you can see anyone that plays those southern areas has got that touchdown first. They're already getting to looting here.
Now we're going to tune in right back with Dennis, Mev, and Namfu. We saw them have an amazing performance early on in the day. We're now Heat 1, Game 5, one game away from the final game of the Heat, kind of dictating who is in that top 16 scenario. At Sunny Steps right now, uncontested. One big thing about this POI you want to have at all times is the actual POI uncontested. There's not that much loot to kind of split off on trios. It's a very easy game or an easy place on the map to disengage from. So if you have two trios contesting Sunny and then one dips off, you leave both of you guys pretty much in a very shambles position. So it's very good right now. They have a lot to loot, and they have a lot of the jungle available around them to have some of that, spread out sparse loot on the map.
Yeah, and one of the things about fighting within these pyramid structures, building's weird. Going outside the building to build on the pyramid itself is weird. Mats are kind of scarce, right? Even with the bonus farm format, when you hit stuff during in these arena settings, yeah, you gain a little more material, but you don't really gain much from these stone structures. So battling here in early game is a scary thing, especially if you don't get the loadout of choice. So for them to have it clear as day right here, it's pretty nice.
Very dope advantage they can see kind of pushing off into mid-game. One big thing about having free early POIs as well, we talked about it earlier, options. They have so many options of what they want their actual loadout to look like. A lot of the time if a fight happens, you don't get to see a lot of the loot early. You kind of have to move on because zone's catching up. Right now, they basically have an entire buffet available, and they get to pick every single thing they want to eat. It's amazing. We have stinks, medkits, minis available. Now tuning in to H-Man up in Greasy Grove. Big elims coming through, two back-to-back, setting these guys up. No taco time to stop the mid-game fight either. These guys are going to be moving through, have all the shield available and the whole POI free.
Yeah, just like that. You wrap that team up real quick. You saw a little bit of taunting coming out there from H-Man. Dampton a little premature before the taco time. It's okay. He's got to get his groove on somewhere or another. He's probably going to make it to his Instagram before the day's up. Here, let's take a look at the loadouts. The loadouts pretty rough. Just a shotgun, couple shields. Okay. We'll be able to grab some of the spores of war here, and now we're talking. Now he's looking like a real Fortnite gamer here. He's got something to work with here in the game today. Opting to farm up this metal. It's very nice. Going to set him up for success.
Yeah, it was a super early game fight. You see the contrast of the actual loadout at the same time, right? We have full fleshed out loadouts all the way at Sunny, and now in Greasy we have people just starting up. The big thing about having Greasy free as well is the farm rate and everything around that too. You have everything set up for you. The momentum's there. You're always comfortable. And it's a very easy way to kind of segment and know exactly when and what to build. You're never worried about missing anything mid-game.
And also remember, ladies and gentlemen, Storm Surge is active. So honestly, you kind of want players to land on you at your POI. I know in a perfect world, you beat Storm Surge and you get a whole zone to yourself. But in the real world, in the real Fortnite world, usually doesn't really work out like that. You want those free picks, those early picks. You want your enemies to, botch their landing, not get the shotgun, pump them, catch some easy freebies. So getting those early game fights can be beneficial, especially if you master your craft. I think early game is one of the hardest, times, or one of the hardest Fortnite things to master, really, I should say. And a lot of teams struggle. There are some players that can pop off in a lot of situations, but they can't really get their gears rolling. They tend to struggle in early game.
Yeah, with few mats available early, since you don't obviously farm out unless you find a llama, and so many spots and natural cover to move around, it's very unpredictable, right? And the top player's worst nightmare is kind of being in a fight in an unpredictable scenario. You have to kind of react to what's on your screen. If you have more than one person focusing you down, that's even worse for you, right? You're always back against the wall. You want to have everything available for you. You want to have some room. So 100% I agree. Early game is something that's very hard to perfect and very hard to kind of prep for when you're playing in the game. It usually just gets thrown onto you.
And these guys are using all this retail row kind of extra loot to really capitalize and find the perfect loadout. So Yonks is going to get a big upgrade right there. Going from a great tactical shotgun up to a legendary shotgun. Legendary Tactical, we've seen multiple players, even in that, you know, rare European Game 1 we got to catch. And I'll call it rare because you guys know the issues that kind of unfolded today. We saw players, pro players, taking the gold tack over the blue pump, even when it needed most. Players needed it the most, right? You needed that one pump. People were still opting to rock out with the gold tack.
Yeah, the meta for a lot of players and the way they play and take peaks, they use the combat for so much time of the season. They're used to having more bullets to send through. They're used to having, you know,
the fire rate.
Yeah, the fire rate as well, right? It's just the biggest thing they're not used to and they have to kind of adjust to is the pull-out time of that gold and purple tack, because it is slower than all the other shotguns available right now in the loot pool.
Here's Zanzis. So they're going to use hoverboards to get away from the trio that's to the left, or maybe they didn't even realize they're actually firing off in the distance there. So little do they know, someone is already up close and personal, but there it is. The sound cue is given off, and he's actually spotted by Zephyr, who's got the perfect pinch on his player, and Zanzis, who's got the nice range as well with the explodes here. Shield Bubble is going to isolate this player from Zephyr, and Zephyr loses the 1v1.
Shield Bubble absolutely isolates. The big thing about this side of the map, too, is how spread out and isolated you are from the get-go. So much of a split is going on just for looting purposes that when a fight starts, you have to act quick to get back to your team. Fast builds from Zanzis, though. Shockwaves coming through. Still a block off. The tack shots not missing a single one out of 8 in his clip. Zanzis is on point right now. Metal's not going to stop his beam from coming through into your box. A two-way split on pressure on the box as well. I hear a minigun in there too, Monster. This is insane.
It's going down right now. He's not missing any shots. Happy that you noted that because there's knock players everywhere. Wisa goes down. Normally when it's me and I got a tack shotgun, I have a million excuses to figure out why I'm not, you know, landing or damaging. But it doesn't matter. Zanz is showing that you can hit your shots, you're gonna win your fights. And that's exactly how this battle has turned around, because Zephyr was the first to get traded out. So as a 2v3 situation, they're doing so good. Invoke's gonna fall down now as well, which means that last player is very weak, because Zanz has already got 2 knocks here. So let's see how he goes to execute and kind of seal the deal here. So he walks right around, and there he goes. He catches Invoke.
Absolutely no hesitation at all to use any type of utility. Not a certain pattern we usually see. People are more safe and scarce with what they want to use in a fight, especially this early. Mid-game, I understand, throw your 6 stinks. But this, Sans has just used, I think, upwards of his entire rocket clip with what the GL came with as well. And the minigun ammo, no care for it at all. I think we just dropped down from like 600 to 200.
Hey,
Still reaping the benefits.
You know what they say. If you can't take it with you back to the lobby, so you might as well throw it out there, because the worst thing is to, you know, to get taken out of a game and be like, man, you know, I still had those splashes. I knew I should have padded right there, right? Or, you know, kind of have those regrets. So, you know, good on them to kind of throw it all at the wall when it mattered, because their teammate got taken out first. Zephyr lost. So you might as well throw everything to really take the tide and take a, you know, take the bull by the horns in that situation, I should say. But taking a look at the other side of the map, we have Eska, Toggle, Seagull on the run here from a team behind them. They put some pressure on squads kind of floating around, launch padding above.
And when the zone gets pulled down from this angle, from on the entire map, this bone spot, the whole Sakura flower field, is a very interesting place where a lot of trios actually converge. A lot of the POIs on that side of the map usually don't waste too much time actually getting bricked from, but if you have that mentality because you just want to go and farm the teeth, every other trio has that mentality as well. There's so much brick available, as you can see, on the lake, on the actual rock behind you guys, the whole skull. But the big issue is if every trio is thinking that way, this is what ends up happening. A huge fight that blows out, stinks being thrown, a lot of utility being used, including defensive utility like campfires and bubble shields, will have a lot of engagements that you probably don't want to take just because you're on the same page as some other trios in the early game.
And those are some amazing stinks right there to really put the pressure on these players down here. But there's someone in Tilted Town who's actually firing back. There's another squad on the mountain just to the side of that as well. So suddenly what looked like a free push and a free takeout on this squad here in the river, it's now turned into a really odd situation because they're surrounded by multiple players. RSG Spirit tries to skate away there on the hoverboard. He's going to get picked off immediately by this trio right now. They say, you know what? We caught a freebie over here. Let's go back. Let's get that loot and forget these guys on the river. They'll live to see another day for now.
Yeah, big cost to their resources, though. A lot of, I think, would ultimately just expended to push that fight. Easily farmable up once again, but we did see so many trios rotating through here. Will there actually be much left at the moment, or will they have to get it on the fly moving forward as well? These guys seem to not stop. It just toggles on 24/7. Fights are on all the time. Not sure why there's just, it's a 2-box kind of defensive base right now, but the less boxes you have, the more opportunity for a big pop-off moment. Spirit getting released all the way to that knockdown state. It's a box wall-to-wall fight right now. It's going to be that 50-50 engagement. Big Elim coming out of Toggle.
You gotta show some respect for Toggle shots right there, flicking at the light and the slightest pixel that moved in front of him. He did not miss a shot, hitting 3 flush pump shots right there, and a flawless edit as well on the player that was just picked up. So Spirit got knocked, he got saved, he got put right back down in the dirt, and then Toggle follows up with the other. Now hopping on over to Shifty Shafts. Looks like we have, we saw Sid dig, we saw MSI dig, and Rampage have a great last game. They're just outside of the Shifty here, and there's another trio nearby.
Amazing. We're going to be looking at Shifty now, one big place to actually get refarmable mats in. The biggest part about this, you talked about the whole skull earlier for Brick. A lot of teams do rotate the Shifty for that metal, as once again, on this kind of middle side of the map, especially coming out of Tilted Town, yes, you have an increased plethora of mats available from chests, but to knock off and top off all your metal, you do have to rotate and find a lot with other trios as well. So a dope pattern we're seeing in this mid game is a lot of Middle Eastern trios on the same page, moving forward, backwards, and all around the map, knowing the exact power, POI, and farm spots mid game as well, as we see a care package coming down from the top.
That's right, and ladies and gentlemen, we are here. It's Shio Wager, Monster D-Face. We're looking at the Middle East region. We're taking a look at these heats, these games that are unfolding here. A region that we have not covered much of. This is actually, if anything, their debut to the Fortnite main stage here. So to see these players performing under pressure right now, we're looking at our future stars. Future names that, will show up for the next World Cup for all we know, right?
Yeah, the scene can only develop more and more and more. They can only review more and play more, which means they'll only get better, and we'll see even greater and bigger things. One big thing I've been seeing these guys utilize mid-game and very early on as well, I want to ask you a question, Monster. What do you think about the uses of shield bubbles mid and end game? When should they be used? How do you manage just having 2 in an inventory?
Yeah, from what I've seen, the shield bubble is obviously one of the most, effective tools to canceling out fire coming in on you when you become the focus point of a server, but more importantly, the perfect way to isolate a team when you decide, hey, we want to pounce on this target as well, so that no one can kind of interrupt or interfere with your battle as well. So the shield bubble is just such a flexible item, and there is no perfect time to use it, because we've seen it used to also just like clog up lanes for fire, right? Or the way these guys have come up with these innovative methods to stick it to yourself when you're on a bush or in a vehicle per se. So the shield bubble has been a great addition to Fortnite. It makes me miss, honestly, the flint knock, because the flint knock is another great addition, right?
Yeah, it's a versatile item that you can use offensively and defensively at a click of a button, right? The instant actual effect comes there. At the moment now, still more disrespect and momentum. Rampage is causing a scene in every single fight he's a part of. It's great that these guys have such a good spirit when they're playing the game. They're always on point. It seems like they're just having a lot of fun playing these matches, even though we can't hear the comms.
Yeah, I mean, Rampage is really cranking right here. He got that quick knock, it came right back up to high ground, and they're just suddenly resetting for the battle here. But someone's going to get dropped. It's Dig who fell behind, and now this trio is on their back foot here, as someone is looking to dive on them. We're not quite sure who it is that's pressuring them right now, but the fire is coming in from all types of ways. Out comes the poison. Okay, so it's VND and their crew up top on the high ground, really just putting pressure in. Storm keeping them out here. They do manage to get that revive off, and that's one of the perks of trio, right? Trio competitions. One player can save, one can play defense, and we see this executed time and time again. It's not like that in any other game mode, only in trios.
There's so many things as well as just being part of trios. You got that whole 5 more items you can carry as well. You have a whole new role. I remember Bala saying that, when chunk splashes were being introduced and trios were like a concept game mode, you could have just a role of an actual healer in the game. And we see that, the clutch player is usually the one that carries the shockwaves and the RPGs. The support player is usually the one carrying those long-range chunk splashes, the brute force kind of pick-me-up items of the trio, whether it's medkits or extra shields. So it's dope to see that when you have more player slots available, you can dive deep into these roles in your trio.
All right, so this trio here sitting on the riverbed in a really odd spot. You never want to be in this low ground underneath the mountain at the mercy of all the teams around you. They do have a launch pad though, and they have a long rotation to make here, so looks like they say, you know what, if we go in the air, we're probably going to get hit out the sky. Let's try our best, right? Go on foot. Try our luck here. They attempted a freebie rotation, and Dig gets punished with a big sniper shot, but it's okay. He's going to be able to heal up and bounce back, and you know, it was worth it, I guess. They got close enough. They made it to the zone. They didn't really expend all their materials, right? The best of the best teams know how to rotate for free, if you want to call it that, and take the risk to get to where they need to be without wasting material.
Yep, one thing, the kind of relationship towards mid-game and end-game rotations in terms of the resources you have, I think, are materials versus shields.
Yeah.
So if you have more shields, you can take the risk to take and get shots to your HP pool to save those mats, drink those shields up, and then just go for siphon endgame, because it's a lot easier to get it there than to do a big mid-game fight. And me saying that, though,
look at this setup. Look at this
looks
setup.
like
Rampage goes underneath their build there, looking for the knockdown to see if they can, you know, sweep someone out from underneath their base. They just are not slowing down the momentum from one place to another. They're bringing the battle to anyone nearby. They're hungry to capitalize on the resources and materials here. That was a heavy sniper right there. You have two players holding down the turbo build, trying to see if they can, you know, keep control of the wall there. Dig makes the reload on the heavy snipe, so any bust, he can make any wall bust that he wants right now. There it is. He opens up another, takes that one right there, makes a quick edit. Can he connect with the shot? He does. He catches one player, but eats a explode from a grenade launcher from somewhere nearby.
The Siphon comes in, though, keeping him healthy. He's going to keep going forward. One decision he made there is not to put that stair in, but to get the damage off first, which proved good for him. At the same time, he did take a shotgun shot back, as well as an explosive, since he didn't own the stair, and it did get edited the moment that explode came in. Now we're switching back over to defense. They did get a few mats off that Siphon, his teammates at least. Now he has enough time to actually take over this whole base. They fill up their loaded slots as well with more things, such as shockwaves and a minigun potentially if they want to take it through as well. And they'll top off on the shields they used when they actually rotated in, using them instead of the mats. We talked about that earlier as well.
Yeah, now looking to retreat back to the metal carcass that they left behind. Remember, metal takes, you know, multiple shots of explodes to kind of break open. They actually find a trio nearby. It's going to be a huge pump shot for 104 now, and they're using the side pinch here. And no, another team comes through. He's going to hit the big pump. He's not missing, but it's just not enough to close the deal here. Rampage is left by himself, but I'm sure the comms are, you know, giving out. They're weak. They're definitely weak. Let's see if Rampage can pull it together here. He has 13 minis in the loadout here, and he is going to find... Yeah, there it is. He's got to switch up the loadout here just a bit. Can he get his heals off, though? Can he get the medium bullets? No, he's actually only has 5 mediums in the legendary, or in the epic AR here.
Yeah, one thing I was going to notice, even if he does survive, what can he actually do? He kind of just has to stay in boxes, zone to zone, shockwave, and hope to get into someone's box or wreck another trio's game to get back in and online. Because right now, I'm counting him completely out of the running against all these big other trios. You see Namfu right above him and VND below him as well.
That was a worst case scenario, too. When you hear that team chug splash going off, when you're like, ooh, that was ours. They caught our boy. They're using our resource. They're all healthy now. You know they're healthy. So that's not a battle you can take. So the VND boys managed to topple the team right there, the Rampage crew, and now make a big rotation here, and they get away with it. They get away with a beautiful launch pad, leading them right into this Storm Wave 6, where we'll get our first moving zone. So we have a nice little stink grenade right there. It's going to put some pressure up, but this trio is so split now.
Now, one thing to big note as well is that these guys are on point with using the proper mats at the proper times. At the moment, they're boxed up before a moving zone. This is where you want no interruptions on your game plan. You don't want your base to get shaken. You don't want any disturbances possible. So you're using those hard mats to make sure you're not focused. Because no one's going to pop in 3 AR mags of a SCAR to break open exactly where your box is, right? So this is very smart for them to just kind of have a little bit of premeditated planning. Then using wood later on. They're almost topped up on every mat as well, which is very, very smart from these VND boys. As you said, you know, we talked about it earlier, I love having rainbow loadouts. And right now they have every color on the spectrum available. Shockwaves, miniguns, the silenced SCAR, and a bunch of heals to get split over. A very cool thing Hater did right there is dropping that big pot over to his teammate. You never know what happens on rotation. one person might go down. It's good to have loot sparsely kind of allocated between everyone so everyone has that clutch moment chance.
Double minigun is going to start cooking here as they have a player on the run. It's going to be Weil who gets taken out of his. Well, the stream's right there. Unfortunately, in comes a shockwave, and Hadar finds himself in the zone right now. At the cost, of course, of a lot of HP, but there it is. That Elim is converted. Dreamwild falls down. And now Hadar's just got to eat some zone. He's trying to crank his way up this mountain. Such a weird spot to be in. There's a player right underneath him. I wonder if he's going to turn around and try and catch this free pick right here. No, he's just more worried about defense. There it is. Little offensive play right there. Can he connect? No, he's going to get taken out. Gets dropped real quick. Now hopping over to Zanzis, Zephyr, and others. You can see just from a nice aerial view of the rotation these players have to make, the struggle that they have going up and over the mountain, and now through what might be the best terrain right here. It's kind of flat. This is where you want to be.
This is where you want to be if you're on the front side of that zone. But anyone at the back on the blue line, once people get based up and realize once Fahad is done drinking these shields, they're going to look straight back for all those elims to come pouring and funneling through. So yes, it's amazing to have flat land if you are in that advantageous position.
FHD does pop the launch pad right there, and out they go floating. Kind of an early launch pad as well, just to go and battle for the high ground. So this is that zone wave 6 we talk about, going for the high ground nice and early here. He's cooking that minigun right now, trying to see what he can do. Little does you know, there is another team up high. There it is. This player has been spotted, melts him right out the sky. Wild Gamer here goes straight down, and the high ground is the power trios. Once again here, the minigun's just a perfect situation. They're just chopping players down. This is just too easy for him at this point.
Yeah, but split solo as well. He doesn't have to worry about his teammates getting in the way at all. It's free reign for Had right now. Even if he does get knocked down due to low mats, it's the only thing I can see that can stop his reign right now. But his teammates can cover that as well. He's going to keep minigunning down. The shockwave is the perfect thing for him too. Getting people down to white tags, has the shotgun to switch over to as well. Yonks up top. Looks like he actually bit off more than he could chew. Fahad goes down. These guys still have so many elims right now. 6 with more to come. The zone is just flipping back. Looks like they have an advantage to hold back the whole zone from height as well on hard mats. Shockwaves are the only thing that can stop them from this position.
And the reason it really works out for them, minigun, high ground, in this situation specifically, is because it went right over low terrain. Everything dipped, so everyone's floating on weak builds, weak wood. When the minigun comes chopping, it's taking all that resource, all that material with it, and all these players were just thrown down to low ground. It's hard to defend at that point, because you have to block what's coming up from above. You have to protect your floor plank below you. You can see there, he's going to actually use a shockwave. That's actually really odd. He throws a player out to the zone. You see for a second there, the lining did show someone in the storm, so it was successful. And there it is. Someone goes down, but Yonk's still at it. He's looking for the shotgun shot right here. And they're just going to win. They're just going to hold players out. I guess the shockwaves kicking them to the zone was worth. It kind of all went in their favor, huh?
Yeah, it was a very unique ending right there. Very casual. They straight up started doing weird edits on height at the end. Absolutely no respect. We're going to be throwing it over to Sundown to break down more of what we saw in this heat and more. Sundown, what you got?
What I got is some more highlights from the early and mid, and then a great display of the power trio holding the high ground and kind of putting what I said a little bit to shame in the last analysis. They were able to stick together as a duo and run out the rest of the lobby, showing that teamwork and the prevalence and the ability to dominate. So very well played from them. Let's hop on in and see what went down in the match. So first, again, we're hopping on board with Toggle and his trio as they're able to get a knock and then put a great amount of pressure onto them. Stealing the wall on the other side, seeing the chug splashes go down, and just going to work. Boom, knock right there, gets the conversion, and they're able to then find the other opponent inside the shield bubble and reap all of the rewards from that. Now on board with the Alter Ego crew, who is able to find a pinch and then get the knock and seeing the teamwork. So now we'll see it from the other perspective, just the amount of pressure they're putting on, constantly pickaxing, trying to take the wall and trying to not allow the opponents to get away. This is the early aggression that's disciplined through, and